Hi Edit, here's the feedback for your reading part of the mock exam that you did recently, and you scored the full 4 marks for the first question, so that's a very good start. So if we move on to question 2 now, where you're asked to comment on how the writer uses language to describe the effects of the storm. You've started off saying that the paragraph is full of compound sentences, where the writer describes the children's feelings about his bad dream. I think you needed to have given some examples of the compound sentences and explained why he's used compound sentences. Then you go on to say, in the dream it's all about a black bird, and even use the adjective black, which is correct use of terminology there, to suggest the horrible feeling that is happening at the moment in his mind. You also mentioned the onomatopoeia of the roaring Pacific Ocean, which helps the reader for a better understanding of the scene. I think you need to elaborate on that a little bit more, to say that it's making it sound more like an animal, that it's really frightening, that the Pacific Ocean's really angry. And you've gone on to say the verbs lashing, rain and waves suggest that it really is a windy and rainy, horrible weather outside. Now, lashing is a verb, but rain and waves are nouns, so just be careful about your quotes that you're making. And again, you could have gone further into lashing and said that it sounds like it's whipping the trees and trying to beat the earth with the trees. You've then given the example of the onomatopoeia pounding and said that the writer's telling us that the child was so nervous and angry because of the dream. And the adjective black colour tells us that everything is dark and the weather is bad and he's sad, and it's a really good similarity to his feelings. So that last bit there, you've made some quite perceptive comments. So if we look at the mark scheme for this question, starting off with level 2, attempts to comment on the effect of the language. Well, you have attempted, and I think that's probably at the top of the band. I've given you some examples of how you could have developed that a little bit more to get you up into the band 3. Select some appropriate textual detail. You've picked out some quotes and some specific words. You've zoomed in on specific words, which is good, and makes use of some subject terminology mainly appropriately. Most of it is right that you've used. There's just that example there, where you've said verbs but those 2 are nouns, and the fact that you've used compound sentences but not given any examples. So I think for this question it's going to be 4 out of the possible 8, and if you'd just given a little bit more in-depth in your analysis of the effect of the language, then it could have been into the band 3. Moving on to question 3, where you're asked how is the text structured to interest you as a reader. You started off by saying the writer focuses on the little children's feelings all the way in the source, and then you said in the beginning it focuses on the black bird which carried off his mum in his dream, and with every single sense we have a better understanding about his feelings and the day-by-day events. You then said there's a really good description of the weather from outside to give more powerful sensations, and it tells the time, which is a good point. Which gives a hint to the reader it's too early for a 15-year-old boy to get up. Then you've said about the middle of the source, it gives a look inside the family. They've got mixed feelings, no one really knows what to say or do. And then you've then gone back to say in the beginning it's only about the little boy and his bad dream, but at the end it develops with descriptions of the whole family, his little sisters and his dad who can't even cook pancakes, and his enormous mum who is sick at the moment. So if we look at the mark scheme for this question and we look at level 2, you said attempts to comment on the effect of the structural features. Well, you have, because you've said with every single sentence we can have a better understanding of the little boy's feelings, and the good description gives powerful sensations. So you've done some of that. Now this one you've not really given many appropriate examples. You've given hardly any quotes in there? Oh, you said one there, they didn't want to hurt his feelings. And then you just picked up on the time, 6:30 there, and the blackbird. So I think we can say some, very loosely, some appropriate examples, and make some use of subject terminology mainly appropriately. Well, you've talked about in the beginning and focuses, and the middle of the source, and then in the beginning, and it developed. So yes, you've made some use of subject terminology mainly appropriately, but because of the fact that you've not really included many examples, and the comments that you've made haven't necessarily been about the effect of the structural features. So I think it's going to be 3 out of the possible 8 marks for this question. So had you included more quotes, then that would have got you up to the top of that band. And it needs to be comments on the structure, or the effect of the structure. So you've said it's only about the little boy and his dream in the beginning, and then it goes on to tell you about the rest of the family. But you need to say what's the effect of that. So looking at question 4, where you've been asked to what extent do you agree with the student's statements that the situation at breakfast time shows that Alex is struggling to cope with his mother's illness. So this bit here is not really that relevant. You start then gone on to say Alex doesn't really understand what is going on in the family at the moment because he misses his mum so much. He talks rudely to his sister, shut up Nicole, which suggests that he has so much anger in his heart he doesn't really know why his mum has to be ill. Why not somebody else's mum? You've then gone on to say, with the simple sentence, you two are just kids, we can have a better understanding of his feelings, and he feels alone besides his 2 little sisters, thinking he's the only one who actually tries to hide his feelings and just wait for his mum to get better. In the lines 28 and 29, he said it's a good explanation about his feelings because he doesn't know who to be angry with. He's angry with life in general. And then you say at the end of the source, he tells about the everyday feelings that everyone missed the balanced diet in the normal time, suggesting that he doesn't feel it's normal family life. And then he said lines 35 to the end is the quote, which helps the reader to understand that Alex definitely cannot cope, or is struggling to cope with the fact that his mum's ill. So lines 35 to the end is the bit where he's listing all the things that he misses, the laughter and the affection and so on. So if we look at the mark scheme now for this question. So level 2 says make some evaluative comments on the effect on the reader. Well, you have, because we've got here. It also helps the reader to understand that Alex definitely cannot cope. You said here this suggests that he doesn't feel his normal period. A good explanation of Alex's feelings. So yes, you've definitely done that. Show some understanding of the writer's method. So this is how has the writer shown you, the reader, that Alex isn't coping. So you've said he talks rudely to his sister, and then here definitely with the simple sentence. And then you said you mentioned a good description, a good explanation there. And you said at the end of the source it talks about the everyday feelings. And then, yeah, line 35 to the end is all about describing. So yes, you've definitely done that. Select some textual references. You have included relevant quotes in this one, and you have made some response to the statement because you've started off up here with Alex misses his mum so much, and then you've ended it with Alex definitely cannot cope or is struggling to cope with the fact that his mum's ill. So yeah, I think you've definitely met all the criteria for level 2 there. and I think it's probably in some respects going up to level 3. So I would say that's 11 out of the possible 20 marks for that question. So well done, Edit.